Remember, you're only a pair of dice away from paradise, depending on how much you bet. The other day, I went to a Kings game with a friend, and my friend and I have gone to Kings games independently, on our own, but we had never gone with each other. So we went for the first time with each other. This was a while back. Kings aren't even playing right now. They didn't make it very far, did they? But we went to this game when they were still playing. It was a regular season. I could have just said that. And we were walking up to the arena, and I was like, do you have a routine? And she was like, what? I was like when you get in there, do you kind of go through a few steps that you always do? And she was like, well, no, I found my seat. I was like, yeah, well, eventually we all do, I suppose. It's really a metaphor for life. I guess eventually we all do find our seat somewhere in life. It just, is it general boarding or are we assigned it? That's a conversation about fate. Tune in next week where we talk about fate and religion. No. She's like, well, eventually I find my seat. I was like, right. Anything else? She was like, well, no, not really, I guess. Maybe I'll get like a snack or something beforehand. I'm like, yeah, word. Totally. She's like, the fact that you asked me makes it seem like you have a routine. I was like, oh yeah, I guess because you're asking, I'll tell you. She's like, I wasn't asking. I was like, I'll tell you anyways. I was like, yeah, I get in there. I get a glizzy, with some mustard. I get a Bud Light wild cherry seltzer. Here's the thing. I don't like Bud Light. I don't like seltzers. Two of the worst things, in my opinion. But a Bud Light wild cherry seltzer, woo! Goddamn. That shit's amazing. So I get that. I go find the seat. And that's my routine. But before that, forgot a step. Before that, I go to the bathroom. Right when I enter the building, I go through security. They always stop me because they're like, what's that? I'm like, it's a hearing aid box. They're like, I've never seen one of those before. I'm like, yeah. You're not the one with the hearing aids. They're like, okay, yeah, go through. When I get in there, I always go to the bathroom first. And my friend was like, well, didn't you go before we left? I was like, yes. She's like, why do you need to go again? I'm like, well, I just want to start the game on a fresh note. That makes sense, doesn't it? She's like, how many times do you go to the bathroom a day? I was like a normal amount. I don't know. I don't really keep track. I will if this is a thing you're curious about. She's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, well, if we're talking ballpark, maybe like 10, I don't know, 10, 12 times a day. She's like, what? That's far too many. I was like, well, I don't think it's that many. I was like, when we get in there, I'm going to go at halftime. She's like, that's crazy. I'm like, oh, well, you're not going to believe what happens after the game then. She's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, yeah, I go at every point in the game. Okay. I go before the game. I go at halftime. I go at the end of the game. She's like, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, yes, but it's not related to my bladder. I was like, just as a measure, how many times do you go to the bathroom a day? When I tell you, she looked at me with complete sincerity and said 3. I was blown away. I'm still blown away. I was like, you have it with every meal? I'm like, well, hold on. Are you a fucking PVC pipe? Because is every meal just going in and going out? Like, is that what's happening? Like, are you so efficient that food is going in, you're getting what you need, and your body's like, yep, get rid of the rest? That's impossible. I don't believe that. There's no way you go to the bathroom 3 times a day. I mean, right off the bat, you wake up, you go to the bathroom. At night, you go to sleep, you go to the bathroom. You're telling me in between that, you're only getting 1 run in? That's crazy. That's insane to me. I'm putting up that number during a basketball game. An NBA game, sure, regulation NBA game, it's a little long. It'll run you about 2.5 hours, sure. I'm drinking a lot of fluids during the game, of course. But I'm like, 3? That's insane. And she's like, okay, yeah. She's like, well, I don't really drink water. I'm like, so there's the thing. There's the problem. And I guess I bring this up just to ask you, how many times do you go to the bathroom a day? Because then later, I was hanging out with her and her friends, and then I asked one of her friends, I'm like, hey, just as a little feeler, I know we just met. How many times do you go to the bathroom a day? And she's like, I don't know, like 10 times. I was like, okay, sure, yes, thank you. That's normal. But how many times are you supposed to? Are you guys going to the bathroom to like? Are the friend and I weird? I need you to tell me in the comments, and I also need you to tell me in the comments because I'm in a bit of a predicament here. You see, I'm doing this podcast again. There's a problem. My stock has plummeted. Let me explain. I am a single guy in his 20s with a podcast. That's dangerous. My stock took a big hit. I did this. I tanked it myself, sure, by coming back to do this. I put myself in a bad position, okay? I am now a single guy in his 20s with a podcast, with himself. I'm not even doing this with a friend. My stock number is low. So I need you to comment. I need you to like this video. You did a good job on the last one. I need you to like interact with this stuff because this needs to be successful or else we're bad news bears. Okay. What this podcast is doing is the opposite of getting a dog. A guy getting a dog in his 20s is like the complete opposite effect of a guy in his 20s starting a podcast. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. The amount of likable that you get from having a dog is the inverse to what I'm doing to myself with this thing. Okay. So I enjoy do this. I enjoy doing this and I enjoy grammar as well. I just don't use it all the time. I enjoy doing this. I know that some people like to listen to it, which is an acquired taste, and I'm concerned about you more than me, actually. But you must understand that my stock has taken a hit, so I need this to be successful. And that's the thing. Even a successful podcast doesn't absolve a man in his 20s from being unlikable, but it softens the blow. So this needs to be successful. I need you to engage with it. Okay. From here on out, I need likes. I need comments. I need all that shit. Okay. Thank you. And I gave you a question. How many times you go to the bathroom a day? Let me know because I'm still in the limbo of thinking I'm weird or I'm not weird for the amount that I do visit a toilet a day. So let me know. Is it weird to go about 10 times a day? I don't know. See, that's another thing that could tank my stock. Do I go to the bathroom too much? Am I going to be a problem at movies? I'm not sure. But while we're on the topic of relationships and dating, right? I got a bone to pick with every friend I have. There's something that happens when you're in your 20s. I'm learning that this is a thing. I don't know if it's a thing that always happens, but it's happening to me. A lot of my friends are like, let me set you up with my friend. I'm like, don't do that. Don't. I don't think that's a good idea for any party involved, but I keep getting this offer of let me set you up with my friend. And the thing is, you follow through with it, you do it, and then you look back and you turn to your friend, you say, hey, do you hate me? Do you? Because if you set me up with that person, you think I'm a loser, don't you? You think I suck. I didn't know that. I had no idea this whole time. You thought I sucked because you thought I would like that person? Wait, so you don't even know anything about me, do you? But that's the thing. It's not. It's not a read on you. It's not that they don't know you. It's that this is what happens. This is what people in their 20s do to all their single friends. They just try to set them up with each other. It's insane. A year ago, a little over a year ago, I was planning this event, this get together. I was planning with 2 other people. And I showed this list of people that I was inviting, and one of the organizers was like, oh, who's that? How old are they? I was like, oh, she's like 20, I think, 20, 21. And they're like, oh my God, I'm inviting a guy that's like kind of the same age. We should set them up together. I'm like, stop it right now. This is why there's this loneliness epidemic of people in their 20s, because no one wants to be friends with anyone. They just want to be in relationships with each other. And it's insane to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm in a minority here. That's crazy. Don't do that. Every time you have your friends are roughly the same age. We're talking like 5 years is what I found. If you guys are within 5 years of each other, your friends that are in relationships are like, oh, you guys are a perfect match. I'm like, because we were born in the same 1,500 days, that's crazy to me. But it's what they do. And sometimes it does feel insulting because I'm like, wait, did you think that was going to work? Me and that person that you saw that? Okay. No, that's fine. How long? How long did you think I sucked that bad? Tell me. Be honest. It won't hurt my feelings. I just need to know when. When did it start? Did I do something? I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. But this is what happens. I don't get it. You know, everyone, when you were younger, they would make fun of band kids. I was in band. So I got, I heard about it. I didn't partake in it. But everyone would always make fun of band kids because the big thing with band kids is they would all date each other. I never partook in the dating, but it was a thing. A lot of band kids, we would just kind of date in the ecosystem, you know? And everyone would make fun of them for it. Well, guess what? We're all grown up now, and all these friends keep dating within their friend circles. It's insane. You became the very thing you swore to destroy. How do you feel now? It's crazy. All these people you grew up with, they're all dating within their hometown friend groups. It's crazy. It's the same people that would make fun of band kids too, are doing it now. And I don't get it. There's so many people in this world. I don't get why there's so many friend groups that just keep dating each other's exes. I'm like, what is going on at this point? You can look elsewhere for source material. You don't have to stay local. And that's what's crazy. If you think about how many, like millions, I think we're up to billions now, huh? I remember I told someone, I made a joke. I was like, man, there's a lot of people in the world, right? At least a few million. And they looked at me with concern. I was like, I know there's like 7 to 8 billion people in the world. Okay, I'm not an idiot. I just, I say these things sometimes. I say something that's true, but it's like, ridiculous. Like there are at least 1 million people in the world, but there's just way more than that. That's the joke. But the problem is sometimes I'll make a joke and then people will just think I'm an idiot. And that's a problem. That tanks my stock too. There's a lot of things working against me. Okay, you've been listening long enough. You know, don't look at me like that. Don't agree so quickly. That's fucked up. Jesus. But I don't get it. Why? These people date like we're in a post-apocalyptic world. It's okay. Go elsewhere. You don't have to. They're like, I only know these people. I can only date them. I'm like, it's not like you were assigned a group. You can change groups. You don't have to. You can get materials from elsewhere. You don't have to just give what was, work with what was given. Get creative. Think outside the box. Or the few boxes that are in your friend group. That's fucking gross. I didn't say that. Yeah, my stock is in the fucking gutter, man. There's no coming back for me. I have a podcast now. I'm doing this again. That's bad for me. For you, seems like it's good. Seems like people are stoked on this. So thanks. Hey, thanks for listening. Shout out you. You're the true winner here. Because like I said, it's bad for me. But that's okay. I'm willing to, I'm such a selfless guy. I'm willing to take that hit for you. It's no big deal. No skin off my back. No, truly. I'm just a giver at the end of the day. You're welcome. But even before we grew up and like left high school, there were still like people dating within friend groups. I'm like, isn't that weird? Like I remember there was a thing in high school where the football players would have 2 jerseys, right? Home and away. And during the home games, they would give their girlfriends the away jersey. And then at the game, the girlfriends would wear the away jerseys. And it was always interesting, because you would see the number kind of switch between different people every other Friday. I'm like, what's going on? What the fuck is going on? But that's the thing. I don't blame my friends, for trying to set me up with their single friends. They just don't want their single friends to be single. But that doesn't stop them, from having self-awareness. It's funny also, the other thing you run into, not only do your couple friends try to set you up with their single friends, but they also think that, okay, I'm the relationship expert because I'm in one. I'm like, that's not what this means. That is, you know what? Just because you made French toast once doesn't mean you're a French toast expert. That's not the saying. Just because you made one cake doesn't make you a baker. Okay? But no, there's a really bad joke that follows that setup, and I'm not going to say it. But it has to do with Loki, if you know what I mean. Yes, that little freak. But yes, also and this is a tired take. I'm not the first one to say this. Everyone says this. That all your couple friends are like, yeah, I kind of have this figured out. I'm like, no, you tricked someone. They're like, yeah, that's what I meant. I'm like, no, you guys were just both lonely. And you're like, we should combat this together. This is a very cynical take. See, okay, you know the other problem with this podcast is I feel like I come and, you know, I feel like I come off as a very negative person in this podcast, but I don't believe 95% of the things I say on here. It's just, I have these ideas and then I write them down and then I'm like, okay, let's see how far I can take this. And I don't even believe most of it. That's the thing. And that's what sucks. Sometimes my friends listen to this podcast because they're masochist, and then they come to me and they're like, oh, you said this thing. I think I do that. I'm like, no, you probably do, but I don't care because you're my friend, first of all. And sure, if a random person did that, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, fuck you, for honking at me in public. Actually, if a friend honked, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we should rethink this whole friend thing. Huh? I've never used my horn to honk. It's crazy to me that people use their car horn to honk at people. That's wild. Anyways, that's the other bad thing about this podcast is I say so much bullshit on here and I don't believe any of it. But then my friends are like, oh, you said that. Is that true? I'm like, no, it's not. And it's like, how could you believe me? How could you? I said it with so much passion on here, I seem to believe all this stuff I say, but I don't. All this shit I say, don't believe it. Please don't. So yeah, and all my friends trying to set me up with their single friends, fuck you. It's okay. I understand it's coming from a very nice place. I get it. And I don't think poorly of these people you're setting up with. That's a joke. But with every joke, there's truth behind it, isn't there? Do you know that saying? The whole saying of like, behind every joke, there's a little bit of truth, or within every joke. I said that to someone the other day. They were like, I've never heard that. I'm like, wait, really? I thought that was like a known thing. Like a universal truth people like knew, or like a classic saying. Like the whole idea that there's 3 feet in a yard. We all kind of just know that, right? I thought this was one of, you don't know that? Oh, U.S. metric system. Okay, we're the weird ones. No, I got it. No, I hear you. But this podcast is an example of me saying something and then people take me seriously and then they're like, well, you don't actually think that. I'm like, no, I don't. But it's like, how are they supposed to believe me? It's the same thing about me being like, I mean, there's at least a few million people and it's like, oh, are you dumb? And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just nothing. No, I just fill air with bullshit. That's what I do. And that's what this podcast is. It's a microcosm of garbage. That's all it is. And that's why my stock is down as a guy in his 20s, because what is this? This is nothing. But, being single and hanging out with your couple friends, I've noticed that I've turned into the guy that watches sports. When you are single, and even actually if you're in a relationship, actually anytime you just hang out with people that are in a relationship, I relate to people that yell at TVs when they watch sports because I think I can do better. Like the guy that's sitting on his couch and being like, come on, LeBron, make that fucking layup. How much do they pay you to do that? I'm like that, but with people. I'm like, come on, you're going to hold the door open, you fucking loser. I could do that. You're not going to offer her some of your fries? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, bro, I could fucking do this. But yeah, I've noticed that I'm very critical, like a guy that watches sports alone in his living room on a Sunday night. I think I know so much better than these people, but it's like, well, then why aren't you in the game? I'm like, okay, fair enough. I'm sorry. Oh, you think you're better than LeBron? Go to the NBA fucking combine, enter the draft, and see who picks you. Okay, I get it. Sorry. Jesus, I know my place. I apologize. But that doesn't stop me from having judgment. That's the best thing. Judging people. When you're in no position to judge, that's kind of my specialty, my secret sauce. See, that's not even a thing. I don't even judge people. I don't even judge people that hard. But I just am saying this because it's bullshit and I need to fill 45 minutes. Do you understand what I'm doing here? But let's go with this premise and say I judge people. You know, I was talking to someone recently. By recently, I'm referencing a dinner I had with someone in November. That's crazy, right? But that doesn't matter. That doesn't enhance the story at all. You knowing that this was a dinner in December. So I just say, oh yeah, recently I had a conversation with someone. But I think funny people are just the meanest people you know with a filter, right? Because if you think of just the worst things, you're not supposed to say them. But sometimes there's some like just obscene things that kind of toe the line where you're like, oh, I could throw this out here. And it works because it's like not really mean. So that's the thing. Of course I have all these thoughts, but I never say them because that's mean. But when you are doing this activity where you have to talk by yourself for 45 minutes, well, then now you got to start saying those mean things, right? No, you don't. But that's just cope. That's just me being like, no, this is why I have to be mean. Because I have to. You want me to be, I can't be nice for that long. So I just have to resort to being mean. That's how this works. I remember now why I didn't do this for a year. And that's the thing. Why did I not do this podcast for a year? There's literally no reason. I just didn't want to do it. It's not that deep. It's like probably like, oh, he was finding himself. He was traveling. He was, pursuing. Nope. I just didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it. But now I want to do it, so I'm doing it again. Oh no. Does that mean I could just disappear again in the future? No, don't think like that. I'm gonna commit to this for at least a little bit. Just. But no, remember, we have to make this successful, okay? So you and I, we're in this together, and I'm not going to let this thing fail as long as you don't. Nope, I'm not putting the onus on you. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'll do my part. I'll show up every week. You have my word. Last week went pretty fine, the podcast, right? Oh, this is getting too meta and shitty. And I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And now we're here, and I realize, oh, yeah, no. This is tough. I'm not gonna lie. Last episode, this sucks. Me talking about other episodes in this episode. Last episode, around 30 minutes, I was like, holy shit, I have to go 15 more minutes? That's good. I don't know how I used to do this. This is like difficult. I think it's because I stopped writing ideas down, so I didn't have that much to talk about. But now I have stuff written down. This is stupid. I got an email with the subject, Kings versus Predators. And my first thought was, yeah, go get them, guys. That's a thing I wrote down. What am I going to do with that? That's just a one-liner. I can't do anything with that. But the NBA Finals is happening. By the time this episode comes out, I think 2 games will have been played. And one of the teams that's in the finals is the Dallas Mavericks. And one of the part owners is Mark Cuban. Yes, you heard me correct. One of the sharks from Shark Tank. He's part owner of the Mavericks. And anytime you watch a Mavericks game, you know this if you watch the game. there are a handful of times throughout the game where the camera will cut to Mark Cuban, like celebrating or looking devastated, like, oh no, if his team's down, he'll be like, oh no, the sports team that I part own is down by 20. And I still have $1 billion. God damn it. But they always cut to him a few times. It's weird. I don't know. And it got me thinking, like, wait, do they just have someone focused on him? Like, their whole job is to be aimed at Mark Cuban, and it's like, you got to be ready because we're going to cut to you and we got to get Mark's reaction. And I was like, oh, yeah. So there's probably some, like, college intern or, like, fresh new grad that got a film degree and is working that camera and just is just honed in on Mark Cuban, and they just fucking hate his guts because they're like, God damn it. My whole job, the way I make a living, is just aiming a camera. It's like a more humiliating paparazzi, you know, because you just have to stay zoned in on this one guy and he doesn't even know you exist. At least with paparazzi, you pull up to them and they're like, yeah, get out of my face, get out of my face. And you're like humanized a little bit, even though the thing is like paparazzi, you know, are dehumanized because they're just like people with a camera and it's sick and gross. But at least there's interaction. At least, you know, the celebrity's like, get the fuck out of my face. Maybe they'll throw a punch. Boom, lawsuit. Ooh, now you don't have to work for a couple months. But with this Mark Cuban sniper, he doesn't know. He has no idea who you are. You are going to be rotated through. It's going to be a different intern in a few months. And, you know, that's just, you feel so disposable and shitty that your living is based around the fame of another guy that has billions of dollars, by the way. That must suck. You must be seething behind that camera just being like, man, fuck you, Mark. Man. And he won't even do anything bad. He'll literally eat nachos. A little bit of cheese will spill on him, which is like, oh, that's bad for him. But you would see that and be like, man, you clumsy fuck. Yeah, fuck you, man. Drop that nacho cheese on you. Why are you even eating that? That's not even your food, man. Don't you have some truffled bullshit nachos you should be eating? That's ours. You're taking that away from us. You're taking that away from some other person that earns minimum wage. And they have to save for fucking 2 months just to go to this game. And guess what? You drop cheese on that shirt of yours and you're probably just going to burn that shirt. You're going to forget about it. You don't even have a clothes hamper. You just have a pit of fire where you burn your clothes because you're going to get new ones. That's right. Fuck you, Mark. And then they go home and they eat this meal. It's like frozen meal. Frozen meals are good. I like frozen meals. But it's just such a juxtaposition to a billionaire's lifestyle. Oh, man. Yeah, no. The dichotomy of it all. I don't know who that guy is on TikTok. I'll put him right here. That guy's fucking hilarious. But, you know, the dichotomy of it all, it's crazy. The juxtaposition between a wage earner and a billionaire, it just really tells you a lot about our society. But I thought about that. I'm like, there's just some person out there that mans this one camera where their whole job is to aim it on Mark, and they probably hate him. For no reason. They honestly, if Mark and the camera person met, they'd probably kick it off. They hit it off. But from behind that camera, you know, like a mile away up there, that camera person probably like, fuck you, Mark. Oh, new haircut today. Oh, look at you. Shut up, man. You didn't say anything, but fuck you. Shut up. They just get mad at everything he does. Every little thing he sneezes, it's like, oh, I guess you're not rich enough to get rid of allergies, huh? I guess you are just like us, bitch. Speaking of allergies, I was thinking about it. Is there a way to microdose like pollen or something the same way that people that microdose like snake venom build up a tolerance? Like, can I build up a tolerance? Because science is we're so like deep into science at this point, right? Why do we still deal with allergies? That seems like we're too far past it, right? Like, people can do heart transplants. That's fucking crazy. But you're telling me when leaves start, you know, blooming, I gotta sneeze until I Got a drippy ass nose like I'm 3 years old. What's up with that? I get a scratchy throat just because I walk by a tree. How is that possible? what, what do you mean? That shouldn't be the same thing. You're telling me I can beat a game of Sudoku, but I can't survive a frolic in the grass? This is the same body that experiences both. I don't believe that. It just seems wrong. But yeah, shouldn't we be able to like microdose pollen? Why are we not doing that? Like, sure, I can take Allertech before a day and it lasts 24 hours and it works. But I'm like, isn't there a way we can like do this naturally at this point? I don't know. I've heard the whole honey thing. You're supposed to cover your whole body in honey and then the allergies won't get in. I'm just kidding. I've heard that if you eat local honey, that's like the way you build a tolerance, but I've tried that. No dice. But you're only a paradise away from paradise, depending on how much you bet. That's what I said at the beginning. It was the first thing I said in the episode. It's a little callback. Typically, callbacks are funny, but I decided to divert the norm and not be funny. So, just kind of my way of being different, I guess. I don't know why in the morning, sometimes I commute in the morning to work, but I used to, when I was an intern, I would always leave really early in the morning to drive to work. Now it's like a lot of remote work nowadays, so I'm not driving too early in the morning. But I was driving to work really early in the morning the other day. Again, that could be some random day in November, but we'll just say the other day. I was driving to work the other day, and I saw this truck, again, with giant logs that it was carrying. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about the giant logs. I remember when I was an intern, they would always transport these giant logs. I remember I would always see it. There was a street. I remember the exact street. I would always run into this truck with giant logs. I was like, why is it that in the morning, there are always these trucks that transport giant logs? What is it that's so special about the morning that makes it to where this is the best time to transport these logs? What is that? Is it because maybe giant logs is like obscene? Like, are we not supposed to see them during the day? Like, if someone saw a giant truck with a bunch of logs on the back, would that be like gross, grotesque, obscene? Would we be like, hey, get a room? What the fuck? That's disgusting. Like, what's the big deal with big logs on trucks? Why is it a morning thing? The early bird gets the worm. Does the early log get the burn? That's right. The only reason that trees and logs exist is to be burned. That's right. Everything centers around humans. Logs and trees, nature only exists so we can burn it to get warmth. It's only useful for that. So yeah, does the early log get the burn? Is that something they look forward to? Is it like a meseek? Do you know about this? Rick and Morty? That meseek, the whole point of a meseek is to fulfill its purpose and then die. Is that what a log is? Does a log be born? When two trees love each other very much, the boy log will stick his twig in the... Okay. Is that where sap comes from? Oh, Jesus. Gross. But yeah, what's the deal? Do logs exist purely to be burned one day in a campfire? Kind of like a meseek? It craves the burn of a family campfire at Donner Lake. Is that also kind of dark? Like Donner Lake in Tahoe? It's like a place where families go to camp, like in a tent and fish and have a good time. When I was in Cub Scouts, every year there would be one camp out called Family Camp. And we would go to Donner Lake. That's where it would take place. But the lake, it's named after the Donner Party, right? And that's where a bunch of cannibalism and like atrocious atrocities happened. And now it's the place. Like, isn't that crazy? It's kind of like in the future, right? Some crazy places where some crazy stuff has happened will turn into like parks. And then some random bench will have a little plaque on it to be like, oh yeah, remember what happened here? And then some, person in the future will like come by and read it and be like, oh, God, I can't even read that actually. It's pretty smudged. But there'll probably be a QR code on it, and then they'll like whip out their phone. Actually, they won't need a phone at that point. They'll just like show their hand the QR code, and then, you know, the Neuralink will like fucking load up some Wikipedia page in their head. And they'll be like, holy shit, a lot of people died where we made this park. That's crazy. I'm next on the swing. You know, it's just like what the juxtaposition, the dichotomy of it all. But yeah, why are they transporting logs in the morning? What is up with that? Is there a reason? I could see. Here's the other thing. The funny thing about podcasts is people always postulate, right? People always postulate. People always pose these open-ended questions where it's like, that's a Google away, bud. You could for sure look that up and save you and everyone else the trouble. Do that. But no. They invented a microphone. And then people were like, that's for me. I'll be having what he's having. So yeah. I don't think I'll ever figure out the log thing because I will never look it up. I said this in a past podcast episode, I think, where it's like I don't even read anymore. Well, I do. See, God damn it. See, here's the problem. I do read now. But for this joke to work, I have to say I don't read. But then someone's going to hear this and be like, hey, he doesn't read. But I do. But then it's not funny. So what do I do? What do I do here? You know? But yes, I don't read, so that must be the workaround for now. But I don't read. I only now get all of my information off podcasts because that's the best way to get information is through someone else's interpretation of something. Podcasts are just the modern day telephone, and it's like it's like a mass, it's like a crazy big game of telephone. It's like one person, it's kind of like, I think I might understand this. And they broadcast it to thousands of people. And then thousands of people are like, okay, I think I understood this a certain way. Now I'm going to spout this off to my friends. Well, you know, whenever we get dinner on random nights in November, you know, a little while back. See, that's the other thing. I don't even really listen to podcasts. Like, I don't listen to podcasts for information. I listen to podcasts for entertainment. Like, the podcasts I listen to, what are they? Come on, Gauruv. Rack open that big old brain of yours. I don't really, I can't even think, God, I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, so everything's working as normal. Shut up. Shut the fuck up with that. You don't think that hurts my feelings? Yeah, there may not be a lot of wit up there, but there are feelings and you're hurting them, okay? But the podcast I've been really into right now, I've been listening to like an episode or two a day, is Emergency Intercom. I've been listening to that for like, I think since like January. It's been my new favorite podcast. And if you've listened to that podcast, you know that's not, that's not to get ideas about things like morning routines and how to improve your life. That is purely there for fucking brain rot, and I love it. I fucking love it. I remember one of the top comments on one of the recent episodes I watched was, hey guys, I got a job so I don't turn out like you guys. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious. I don't go on the internet to make myself a better person. If it happens as a byproduct of something I read, sure, fine. I go on the internet to be entertained. That's all. I remember years ago, the other day, in fact, I was talking to this guy and he was like, what do you look at to learn on YouTube? I was like, that's not a thing that I do. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you don't use YouTube? I'm like, no, I do every day. In fact, it's my most used app. He's like, well, then I don't get what you mean. I'm like, that's not like a learning tool for me. That's pure entertainment. If I click on a video and it's trying to teach me something, I'm out. And for that reason, I am out. I'm not going to watch a video to learn. What I do on YouTube, if I see a video that looks like it's informational, I could learn something, I save it to my watch later playlist and I never look at it. My watch later is like 800 to 900 videos that I have somewhere in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm going to watch that one day, but I'm not. I'm never going to watch those videos. I think it's just a way for me to be like, yeah, see, I could use this as a useful tool. And that's it. I'm not going to. It's it's basically me being like, I could be a better person if I wanted to. And the acknowledgement of that is good enough. I don't have to do I don't have to learn, because I'm basically telling myself I can start whenever I want to. I can stop being an idiot whenever I want. I could stop today. I have that much self-control that I could stop today. I'm not going to, but I could. Hey, I just want to apologize real quick. The first half of this podcast sucked ass. But that's what's going to happen. Okay, I'm still trying to figure this thing out. I forgot how hard this was. But the second half of this podcast, it felt good. I think I understand it now more. So, what are we, episode 89? Oh, now he gets it? I know. But yeah, just, that's the dichotomy of it all. If you think about it, like, it's kind of the persuasion of it. Just like figurative language, metaphors, and similes. And that's on God. Facts. So yeah, thanks for bearing with me. This was a tough one. I understand that. But if you did make it this far, I appreciate it. I really do. Oh yeah. I mean that. See, why do I say stuff like that? I actually do appreciate it, but it's like, oh, I have to put on this like front that like, oh, I don't, oh, it's too cool to care about something. And it's like I'm just playing into this podcast character, but this isn't me. What the fuck? Like this. Before this gets back to how it was in the first half of this episode, I think I should just stop it here. So thanks again. It's good to be back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you. I'll talk at you in the next one. Okay? Bye.